Welcome to another edition of Papa Bojo's Kitchen. Today I'm going to make you a popular Polish festive dish. Usually around Christmas or New Year's you'll see it made, but it's very simple and it's very good. It's made with white or fresh kielbasa. This isn't smoked kielbasa, and it's got some onions and other simple ingredients. Here's the list of your ingredients. Now to prepare for this, I've already cut the onions and I've cut them into slivers. You can see how they're in slivers or little wedges. And then also we want to cut our apple. You want to cut your apple with the skins. I've got Fuji apples because I want mine sweet, but you can use any type of apple you want. And when we get the apple, what we're going to do is we're going to cut these into slices that mimic the same size that we're cutting our onions. So you see they're slices like this. Now that we have our apples all sliced, now it's time for us to start assembling this. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to add some beer to a mixing bowl. I don't have Polish beer, but I've got German beer, Hofbrauhaus beer from Germany, imported. You can use any beer that you like. Don't use light beer though. Use a full-bodied beer. And we're going to use about maybe around 8 ounces or so of beer. And then we'll drink the rest of this. So next we're going to take our mustard. We're going to add our mustard in with our beer. And you want this to be a nice hearty mustard. Don't just use like a yellow mustard. Get yourself a nice grain mustard and whisk this in. And then I also add some mustard seed. And I'm also going to add in my salt and my pepper as well. I'm going to mix this in really good. Once this is mixed in, I'm going to add my onions. And I'm going to mix these in just so everything gets a little coated. Now we're going to add this bed of onions and all these juices all in our roasting pan. Now we're going to take our apples and we're going to make ourselves a layer of these apples all in this roasting dish. What's going to happen is as this is cooking, these apples are going to soften, and the flavor of the apples with the onions caramelizing below them is just going to really add a little sweetness to the overall flavor of the dish. And don't forget at this time to get your oven going. You want to preheat it to 350 degrees. And so now you can see how the apples are all layered. I've got a nice layer on top. Then I like to sprinkle the top of this with some marjoram because marjoram is like one of the national spices of Poland. And it goes really good with the kielbasa. And lastly, we're going to take our kielbasa and we're going to lay it on top of these apples. And even though normally you don't like to pierce a hole in the skin of your kielbasa, I'm doing that with this because I want the flavors of the kielbasa as this is cooking to intermingle and mix with the flavor of the onions below. And I'm doing both sides because what we're going to do is we're going to cook this for 30 minutes. And then we're going to flip it over because after about 30 minutes, we should have a nice browning on one side of these. And then we're going to flip them over and cook for another 30 minutes till the other side is fully browned. So into the preheated 350 degree oven we go. That goes in uncovered because we want everything to brown. We want those juices to eventually evaporate so the onions underneath can get all nice and caramelized. We'll be back in 30 minutes to flip the kielbasa over. So it's been 30 minutes and we're going to take these out and flip them over. You can see they've got a little bit of browning going on, not a whole bunch, but just enough. Now I'm going to take the kielbasa and set it aside, and I'm going to mix these onions and apples up a little bit at this point. Try to even out the cooking, and then I'm going to flip this kielbasa over. I'm going to do the same thing with this one. Mix these apples and onions all up here. Now I'm going to flip this piece of kielbasa over, and now we're going to go back in the oven for another 30 minutes until these are all cooked and nice and browned, and we're even going to check the internal temperature, make sure it's at least 165. So back in the oven again, and I think I misspoke in the early part of the video. I think I said 350 degrees. I meant 375 degrees. Well, our kielbasa casserole is done. So to plate this, what we're going to do is we're going to take some of these apples and onions, and we're going to stick them right here on the plate. Then we're going to take one of these kielbasa links. I'm going to cut it in half, and I'm going to set it on top of this pile. Then I'm going to add a few condiments. I've got some great cabbage slaw here, Polish cabbage slaw from Polmart, one of my favorite markets here near my house. Put some of that there. I'm going to add a few red beets. I'm going to add some pickles to give me some of that great acidic. These are Polish dills. And then I'm going to add some of this great same spicy and sweet mustard that I had in my mixture of onions and apple. Then I'm going to take some of this great juice and I'm going to spread this over the kielbasa and over the apples and onions. And here you have it, a perfect Polish festive feast for Christmas or for Easter or for any other time you want. It's fresh kielbasa, not smoked. It's white kielbasa, they call it, on a bed of onions and apples and sweet and spicy mustard with a beer type sauce. You got to give this a try. Your family will absolutely love this. So I hope you've enjoyed this episode of Papa Bojo's Kitchen. I hope you come and see me again. Smacznego. Bye.